Hello, we're here today to talk to Rupert Matthews about his new policy paper, written for Bretwalda Books, on how Britain can leave the European Union. Rupert, now I know you've written a number of history books in the past. What do you think we can learn from past history on the way the European Union is developing?
Well, what I did in this book was I had looked at some past examples of multinational organisations and unions. From history, from ancient Greece, from Warsaw Pact, and from various other periods, and looked at the way in which those unions of separate and sovereign states developed over time. In nearly every case, the centre started drawing power into itself, making itself more powerful than the supposedly sovereign states. And in each case, a point finally came when it was no longer the sovereign member states who were in charge and who had sovereignty. It became the central authority itself, which had become, if you like, a new country made up of the member states.
By a creeping federalism, effectively.
That's right, yes. I mean, in some instances it happened without much controversy until suddenly someone realised that there was a problem. You could take, for instance, the United States of America as a template there. The creep of federalism into the central government at Washington happened over a period of about 80 years. It happened very gradually, there was no controversy, and it wasn't until an issue came up, which of course was slavery, when one of the states felt that it really didn't want to put up with this and it wanted to leave, and suddenly there was a constitutional crisis which ended in a very bloody civil war.
Is it in the European Union's interest for Britain to remain a major power?
Oh, well, quite simply, because once the power is accrued centrally, they get used to having the power and they get used to having the money. A country like Britain is a massive contributor in financial terms to the European Union, and having Britain as a member state means that the European Union carries a lot more kudos and a lot more authority on the international stage. Well, if Britain were to leave, that authority would be diminished. The European Union would have a lot smaller budget, amount of money coming into the centre, and really it is definitely not in the interest of the European Union for a large country to leave. And of course, once one country's gone, there's nothing to stop the others going.
What they actually do if Britain decided to leave the European Union unilaterally?
Well, up until recently, not very much is the easy answer, but the Lisbon Treaty introduced for the very first time a mechanism by which countries would leave. Formally, all that would happen would be that the member state would just say, well, we're not going to be a member anymore, and we're abrogating our membership of the European Union. Under the Lisbon Treaty, a member state has to get the permission of the European Union before it can leave. Now, in large part, this is all tied up with, of course, the legal requirements and the budgetary contributions and various other things, which understandably, of course, the European Union does have an interest in that. But the boot's now on the other foot. The European Union needs to give permission before a country can go. The other aspect that the Lisbon Treaty brought in, which I found really quite worrying, is that the European Commission now has the right to deploy military forces to anywhere within the European Union without needing to get the permission of the member state where those military forces are being deployed.
So can I be clear on this, that the European Commission, in other words, non-elected bureaucrats can decide one morning that they're going to send the tanks into Athens or Berlin, yes, of their own free will?
Absolutely.
Without any democratic involvement in that decision? That's
right, it's up to the Commission, so long as I think it's a Commission President plus the majority of the Commission are in favour of this. The only drawback that they have on this is, of course, they don't have any military forces of their own.
It's a technical problem.
It is a technical problem, but the key point is that while they need the permission of the country whose forces they are deploying, they do not need the permission of the country to which they are deployed. So, for instance, were there to be massive riots in London, or there were to be all sorts of problems, they could go to the German government and say, please send us a Panzer division, and if the German government said yes, then the European Commission could send that Panzer division to London, and there's nothing the British government could do about it.
Not even appeal to the United Nations?
No, nothing.
What conclusions can we draw from this moving forward?
To the historic examples that I cite, as I say, from ancient Greece, the United States of America and so on, it is quite clear the way that the European Union is developing. It is quite clear what they're trying to achieve, and looking at the examples from the past, it is a real warning from history what might end up happening in Europe.
We've recently seen a lot of trouble on the streets of Athens caused by the Euro rather than the European Union. Could you see a possibility where the European Union would actually want to throw out a member state rather than that state secede?
It's possible. Personally, I don't think so. One of the raison d'etre for the European Union is always to expand, always to get new members, and always to accrue more power to the centre. I really can't see that they would want to kick a country out. The only state which has ever left the European Union left in days when it was the European Economic Community, and that was Greenland. But technically speaking, Greenland didn't leave the European Union, they left Denmark, because they were a part of Denmark and seceded from Denmark, which was a member of the European Community at the time. So there has never actually been an example of a state seceding from the Union.
Well, thank you, Rupert. We look forward to seeing your book on another subject next year.